each and every one of their recruiting classes. And then we'll end our show with our G5 programs. Of course, we can't forget about those. It is an absolutely loaded show. And again, we're so thankful that you're here with us today as we celebrate early National Signing Day for the class of 2026. All right, Powers.
Let's do it.
Let's jump right into it with some notable recruiting news around the Lone Star State. We want to start off here with the Baylor Bears. There's been a couple of notable flips that we need to discuss. Temple defensive lineman Jamarian Carlton flips from Baylor to Texas a couple weeks ago. Waco Conley defensive back Jamarian Vincent flips from Baylor to Michigan. Mesquite Horn offensive tackle Cole Seaton flipped from Baylor to Oklahoma State early this morning. And San Antonio Madison wide receiver Jordan Clay flipped from Baylor to play in Washington. Powers, is it time to sound the alarms in Waco?
You know what? I am hitting the panic button a little bit on Baylor right now because they lost 3 of their top-rated signings in this class. 2 of the Jamarians, which was huge. They were 4 stars. Jamarian Carlton was the marquee player in this class. And they lost Jamarian Vincent, who's from Waco. The reason for optimism, though, if you're a Bears fan, is that they did have some key offensive signings, and they have key recruiter Keenan Hall on this staff who develops tremendous relationships. And they already boast a commitment in the class of 2027 from 4-star defensive back Devontre Kirkland. So if you're looking for some optimism, those are some of the reasons why.
Yeah, I don't think it's time to sound the alarms either. And we'll get more into that recruiting class for Baylor here in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us. But I don't think it's time to sound the alarms yet. I love the recruiting class that they've been able to sign today. So if you're a Baylor fan, don't hit the panic button just yet.
There's some clear winners in their class.
There's some clear winners, and we'll break down some film for a couple of them here in just a bit. A couple of other notable flips that have happened recently. Waco La Vega wide receiver Jabari Thornton flipped back to Oklahoma State. He was first committed to Oklahoma State, flipped to North Texas, back to Oklahoma State to follow Eric Morris and that staff to Stillwater, Oklahoma. Dripping Springs wide receiver Cooper Reed flipped from Arizona State to TCU. Love that get for the Horned Frogs.
Big receiver with a huge frame, 6'5". He's the guy who can play over the top of defensive backs.
Love that get for them. Melissa, offensive tackle Max Wright flips from Texas to SMU. Another big get for the SMU Mustangs, which they've already put together a phenomenal class. And like I said, we'll get into that in here in just a bit. But a great addition from Max Wright.
The trenches this year in SMU's class is something that the coaching staff should be patting their back on.
I think so, too. Any other ones? Any other noticeable flips that you want to hit on before?
Well, I mean, I think we touched on the major ones, but I'm watching some guys as National Letter of Intent Day rolls along. We're waiting on Keyshawn Henderson's letter of intent to come in for Houston. That's a big one. So that's the number 1 player in the state. So as this day unfolds itself, I think he's locked in with UH, just a matter of timing.
Yeah, I think so too. No reason to panic there. Let's take a look at some of our out-of-state signees. You know, Powers, we're big Texas-centric here, right? But a lot of the top guys in this class are not staying in-state to go play. And as you can see here, we've put together a list of the top 7 out-of-state signees for the class of 2026. Up there at the very top, it's the newest 5-star in the class of 2026. It's wide receiver Ethan Booby Feaster out of DeSoto. He signed his letter of intent to go play at USC. 4-star Jalen Lott, wide receiver out of Frisco Panther Greek. He signed to play at Oregon. We actually had the opportunity to broadcast his live commitment, and he's been locked in with the Ducks ever since then. Bo Bentley, 4-star quarterback out of Salina. He's been locked in with Oklahoma since he first announced his commitment back in the summer. 4-star edge rusher Landon Barnes. Dude is a freak show. Got to see him in person a couple of weeks ago. He is making his commitment to Ole Miss. 4-star Tredarian Ball, running back out of Texarkana, Texas High. He'll be signing to go play for the Oregon Ducks. 4-star Jamion Winfield. He is a defensive tackle out of Richardson. He'll be playing at USC next season. And 4-star running back Javion Osborne out of Forney. He will be signing his national letter of intent to go play at Notre Dame. One of the things, Powers, that sticks out to me on this list, the number one overall class in 2026 right now, per 247 Sports, is USC.
Yep. And
you know what the number 2 is?
I'm going to guess Oregon?
It's Oregon. So you got 2 USC commits, 2 Oregon signees on that graphic. It looks like they're recruiting pretty well.
Is it fair to say it all starts in Texas for these top-rated classes?
I think it kind of does all start in Texas.
You know, this was a tremendous signing class for USC. I'm going to start with Boobie Feaster. This is a guy at 6'2", 175 pounds, is closing in on some all-time career records at DeSoto. He needs 180-plus yards to be the best receiver of all time to play for the Eagles. And another guy I want to shine the spotlight on is Javian Osborne from Forney. He had a remarkable Texas high school football career. He's the all-time leading rusher in Forney school history, and he has the type of ability like J.D. Price does that went from Texas up to Notre Dame and starred to be a plug-and-play fit in that Notre Dame offense, and I think that the days are bright for Javian Osborne. And one of those flips you asked me about, a name came to me as we were reading this list.
Okay,
Jonathan Hatton flipped from Texas A&M to Oklahoma, giving Oklahoma another key signing to join Bo Bentley out of the Lone Star State. I think Jonathan Hatton's the type of back that can thrive at OU and in the SEC. So that was a huge get for the Sooners.
I think so too. And I'm currently looking, you can go to texasfootball.com/recruiting. We have our full list of 2026 rankings on there. And I'm looking at this because noticeably in the top 20, I think Florida has also done a great job. They've been able to get Frisco Lone Star athlete Davion Gross, as well as Duncanville defensive end KJ Ford. Florida's done super well. Ohio State has also been able to pull a top 20 recruit in, Brock Boyd. We're also waiting on North Forney quarterback legend Bay's commitment as well, or his signing letter of intent, his paperwork to come in. So, I mean, if you look at the list all in all, a lot of these guys, they're staying in state, which is a good thing, right? But then also a lot of them are going out of state. So it's important to note that, or it's just important to recognize the guys that are playing out of state. Even though we are a Texas company, we like to cover the Texas schools. We also like to recognize the guys that are going out of state.
Well, I like to shine the spotlight on all these elite Texas high school football talents, and we'll get into it more as we break down these teams. But some of the teams in Texas have been able to go out more nationally and grab some commits as well, which opens up the door for some of these other teams to get these top-rated players from the Lone Star State and convince them that maybe coming out of state is in their best interest.
I think so too. Lots of notable recruiting news to keep your eye on today, and we'll have you covered all day on texasfootball.com/recruiting. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
Let's do it.
Let's dive in with Texas Tech. Why don't we? This class, man, this Texas Tech class is phenomenal. And I know you gave them a very high grade.
Yep.
Putting out your article. Give me your general thoughts on the class that they've been able to sign so far today.
Well, this is a tremendous Texas Tech class. I'm giving them an A, right? That's the grade that I give them. They finished in the top 20. They actually sneaked up a spot in the 247 Sports rankings to number 18. Before we went on the air, they were number 19. So somebody lost a commitment. They signed 2 5-stars for the first time in program history in one class. And they have guys up and down this list that I consider ball-playing dudes. And when we talk to Joey McGuire later, he knows what that compliment means. Bryce Gilmore at Prosper, Chase Campbell at Wolf of Friendship. Up and down this list, there are guys that can absolutely play ball, and Texas Tech has been able to do a good job of securing those commitments, and not only securing them, but keeping them on the commitment list, because one of those 5-stars is LaDamian Guyton, an edge rusher from Georgia who's a 5-star, and everybody was trying to flip him down the stretch, but Texas Tech won out. He sent in his national letter of intent earlier this morning.
And I think it's safe to say that from the 2027 class that they've already had some commitments for, they're not slowing down either. But let's head on to the ball-talking zone. Another guy that's not slowing down. Let's break down some film. How about Lake Ridge offensive tackle Felix Ojo? Guys, what do you got?
Yeah, we thank you so much for having us here in the ball-talking zone. We only come over here when we're ready to talk ball. This is a sacred space for us. And here we're talking ball about arguably the jewel of the 2026 class for Texas Tech Red Raiders, Felix Ojo, the Mansfield Lake Ridge offensive tackle, a guy who is an absolute monster. And I mean, if you put it in NFL terms, he's a franchise left tackle, plain and simple.
And when you look at Texas Tech this year, they're playing in the Big 12 Championship on Saturday with suffocating defense and by running the ball down your throat. This is not your older brother's Texas Tech. And I think that Mike Craven, when he wrote the Felix Ojo cover story on our Rising magazine, did a great job of showcasing how Texas Tech, their strategy is to use the funds that Cody Campbell has to build relationships with Joey McGuire and James Blanchard, the general manager, to then sign 5-star offensive linemen like this that Texas Tech has never gotten before. This is almost like one of the last Infinity Stones in the Thanos hand.
And this is a guy who I think really projects well, right? I think he's got NFL upside. You know, we got to do the cover shoot with him for the 2025 Dave Campbell's Rising magazine, and he is an enormous guy, but you can also see the frame that you can build upon. Like, there's still upside. He is not a finished product quite yet, and I think that's what's most exciting is he's really good right now. Get him into a college program, and he could go from a really, really good prospect to an elite talent.
And, you know, when we do that cover shoot with Felix Ojo, we see that what a good kid he is, you know. And Kirk Thor, the Mansfield Lake Ridge head coach, spoke about Felix. It was no secret getting the record NIL deal. And Mansfield Lake Ridge was 1-19 in his sophomore and junior seasons. But Coach Thor said Felix was so coachable and never changed his attitude. And then they went 9-3 this year. It turned that thing around, leaving his legacy at Mansfield Lake Ridge.
Well, and I'm just really interested because, you know, for me, the way that the recruiting has gone in the college football ranks is they've started, you know, you see the rise of general managers, right? Think about like an NFL team. Where do you build your team from? You build it from quarterback, and you build it from a franchise left tackle. And that's essentially what they're doing here is they have found their guy, their cornerstone of their offense for the future. And I think that he's just such a game changer, Greg Powers and Mallory Hartley, for what this program wants to do. You know, Texas Tech has obviously had a tremendous year, but to keep that going, they have to reload. And I think that they're not just reloading with talent, but they're reloading with talent in the key spots that will sustain that growth.
You know, he projects well, and he photographs really well, too.
Yeah, I love the photo.
I love this photo, man. It's so good. And I can't wait to ask Coach McGuire about it because I know that he loves it, too. But it's so sick. The pancakes look so good. I mean, that was a fun cover shoot. But, yeah, Felix Ojo, absolutely their top prospect in the class of 2026. Let's take a look at the rest of the class of 2026 that they've been able to sign today. Of course, at the very top, it's Mansfield Lake Ridge offensive tackle Felix Ojo. Defensive end, LaDamian Guyton out of Savannah, Georgia. Frisco Panther Creek safety, Donovan Webb. Wide receiver, Chase Campbell out of Woolforth Friendship. Bryce Gilmore, offensive lineman out of Prosper. Kagan Ash, athlete out of Mount Enterprise. And then Savorian Martin, we got to do his live commitment as well. 4-star defensive back out of Palestine. Out in Beast, Texas. Powers, who stands out to you on this list?
Oh, well, they all stand out to me. You could say 5-star, 5-star, 4-star, 4-star, 4-star. You know, this class is really deep and really talented. One of the guys that's still in the playoffs that's going right now is Kagan Ash. He's rushed for over 10,000 yards in his Texas high school football career. I think he could play linebacker once he gets in Lubbock. And I got a cool note. Savorian Martin, no touchdowns allowed in 3 years playing cornerback.
That's insane. That's
3
absolutely
years.
Insane. Yeah, this list is just absolutely loaded. But I know you don't want to hear from us anymore about how amazing the Texas Tech class of 2026 is. So let's head on over to the hotline, and we'll bring in the head coach of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. It's Coach Joey McGuire.
Let's go.
Coach, thanks so much for coming on, man. We're super pumped to have you.
And thanks for having me. I love y'all reading off the list and talking about our guys. Man, this is a special class.
Absolutely. And wanted to give a big congratulations from all of us on such a phenomenal year. But the job's not done. What are the vibes right now like in Lubbock, Texas?
Yeah, we're pretty fired up. You know, I'm about to coach, I believe, my 14th game as a head coach in Cowboys Stadium, and have some incredible memories in that place. And it's going to be big to make one more. We've got a huge test in front of us playing BYU. But our guys are really excited to get to Arlington.
Hey, Coach, we had Felix Ojo on this year's edition of the DCTX Rising magazine, a 5-star commitment for you guys. How excited were you to get that commitment? I believe you might have been on vacation, and it was his birthday, so that was a big day for Texas Tech. Now he made it official this morning.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, he's extremely athletic. One thing that we believe, big people beat up little people, and he is a large human. I mean, he's got great length. What I love is how much he loves football and how he is extremely driven to be great. And so whenever you got a guy like that, you can really push them to where they want to go. And he is a special young man.
Coach, you made a ton of noise in the transfer portal last year, bringing in a lot of key additions, but we know how important it is to you and your staff to keep those high school football relationships. How important is it to keep recruiting within the state of Texas at the high school level?
Yeah, it's extremely important. Shout out to all my guys, all my fellow high school coaches. I always tell everybody I'm a high school coach that gets to coach college football, and I take that I take that responsibility serious because, man, I'm one of them, and they've been great to us at Texas Tech, and we're going to be back in there. I hope we get like maybe a week or less because that means we're playing in the national title on January 19th. And so we'll come out after that. We'll be on the road after that. But it's really important. It's important, to continue to develop the relationships. But whenever you're getting a high school player out of the state of Texas, you're getting a young man that loves football and a young man that you can develop into a really good player. And, when you look at our roster, I mean, we have some great transfers, but we also have some guys that have been here from day one that are playing at a high level that played Texas high school football.
Coach, I know that recruiting's 365 days a year. Your staff's worked hard all year. This is your moment to kind of shout out some of those guys that have been working hard behind the scenes.
Yeah, it starts with our general manager from Orange, Texas, from West Orange Stark, down there in the 409 where, tough people come from the 409. And James Blanchard, and his crew, Brian Nance, he played at Trinity and played at Baylor, Wes Harwell, and Sean Kinney. That's our personnel staff. They've got 4 students to 5 students that work with them. But those guys, that's all they do. Like literally right now, if you go down to Sean's office, all 4 of them are in Sean's office, and they're watching film on the 2027 class and the 28 class. I mean, that's all they do. And then, our coaches did a great job developing relationships and making sure we were able to close the deal on these guys. We had no surprises this morning. We had no flips. We signed everybody that, was committed to us. And we ended up exactly where we want to be.
Coach, we've had a lot of fun this off season. We got to go out and broadcast a couple of those live commitments. The number 1 safety in the state of Texas, Donovan Webb, and Savorian Martin, who hasn't allowed a touchdown in 3 seasons. How important have these additions been to your team?
Well, first, y'all did a great job. I watched both of them. So, I was fired up. I love what you guys do. I'm a huge fan. There's no bigger fan. I'll just tell you this. I mean, whenever it comes to high school football, we go to the movies every Friday night, no matter where we're at, home and away. And I've got my app, and I'm looking at all the scores. I'm texting my buddies afterwards saying congrats. John Snelson's got a big game this week against North Shore. I've been messing with him all week long about, if he's going to be ready for those guys because that's such a powerhouse. But, those 2 commits live, man, that was so cool. And y'all don't understand, it helps the players get exposure, and it really puts a lot of spotlight on them. But what y'all also did was promote our brand. Whenever we get the Double T out there, man, that makes it a big deal to us. So thank you so much. And like I said, I watched both of them, and I'm hoping we got a bunch of them this next year.
Coach, I focus on those Texas top 100 guys, right? Those are the guys I'm watching, all the top in-state guys. But you guys signed a 5-star from out of state this year, LaDamian Guyton. He made it official. I know you had a fight to the wire on that one. Tell us a little bit about why Red Raiders fans should be fired up for Guyton.
Man, he probably could play this weekend. Honestly, I mean, he he reminds me a lot of Romello Height, who has, I think, 8.5 or 9 sacks right now going into the Big 12 championship. Another kid that's out of Dublin, Georgia. And man, he's a kid that is really twitchy. He reclassified. He was the top player in the country in 2027 and reclassified. So we'll get him here soon. But guy that loves football and a guy that loves to hit the quarterback. And man, that's, we're looking for that right now. I think we're number 3 or 4 in the country in sacks. We've got 37 on the year. With both of our edge guys are playing their best football. And so if you want to hit the quarterback, you should come to Texas Tech.
And Coach, finally, I don't know if you heard earlier, but Greg Powers gave your recruiting class an A+ overall. Now tell me, what do you give your recruiting class?
I'm right there with him. I'm not going to argue with an expert. I mean, he's been doing this a long time. We've known each other forever, and I appreciate that. And I mean, whenever I was at Cedar Hill, I used to always talk to him about our guys and the kids that we were signing on the other end, trying to get them to different colleges. So that gray in his beard and his hair is there for a reason, man. That tells you he didn't get that early. He earned it, just like I did. So he and I have been together and been doing this a long time, and I appreciate the A+.
Coach, I found an old picture of us from 2004. It was me, you, Kenny Perry, and you're never going to believe this, a guy named Max Imfinger who had a 7-on-7 event down there, bringing back some nostalgia this week when I was looking through some of those old photo reels.
Man, you might have to post that. I would love to see it. I promise you I had more hair and it was a lot darker. I promise you that. Kenny Perry still didn't have hair.
No doubt. He did not.
No doubt about it. That's hilarious. Well, Coach, we really appreciate the time. Congratulations on a phenomenal season and a phenomenal recruiting class that you guys have been able to put together. Safe travels to Agtown this weekend, and we're rooting for you guys. Good luck.
Yeah, thank y'all so much. And I just want to say thank y'all for what y'all do of covering these players. It's such a big deal. And all the players, wherever they sign today, man, enjoy the day. Signing day is a special day for everyone and the families out there. And I know my Red Raiders that signed today, they're having a blast. But, man, everybody that signed today, it's special. So enjoy it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Coach. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Wreck 'em.
There he goes. It's the head coach of Texas Tech Red Raiders. It's Coach Joey McGuire. Man, I love the energy always.
Yeah,
always love the energy.
No doubt about it. They have a tremendous class, and you can see why they're so successful in recruiting. He touched on some of the guys working behind the scenes, but Joey McGuire is infectious, right? And he's a guy that a lot of Texas high school football coaches believe in, and now he's not only being able to say what he's going to do, he's proven what he's going to do, and that's only going to keep the snowball rolling downhill as that Texas Tech avalanche continues to pick up steam.
It's a guy that the energy is infectious, like you said, and it's a guy that you want to go play for, right? He just kind of projects that type of energy. It's a guy you want to win for. So I really appreciate the time from Coach McGuire and all of his staff. Let's move on from Texas Tech. We'll go to the SEC now. Let's talk about the Texas Longhorns, one of the nation's premier programs in the recruiting class, top 10 recruiting class nationally per 247 Sports. They ranked number 7 in the entire nation. Powers, give me some of your general thoughts over this recruiting class.
Well, I think some things are certain in life, and it's death, taxes, and the Longhorns signing a top 10 national class. And they did a tremendous job of getting guys up and down this list. Some of the top-rated players in Texas and some of the top-rated players from out of Texas, especially in Georgia. They did a really good job in Georgia in this cycle. And there's some sleepers on this list that I really like. And when you're talking about a sleeper for Texas, you're talking about a highly rated 3-star or possibly even a 4-star because they have such highly rated commitments. But up and down this list, they got dudes that can go.
Dudes that can go. Speaking of dudes that can go, how about Willis athlete Jermaine Bishop, Greg Tepper, Carter Yates? Let's break down some film.
Yeah, I got to be honest, Mallory. When you started tossing to us, I presumed that when you talked about dudes who can go, you're referring to the ball talking zone. That's okay. That's okay. We'll get there. Let's talk about a guy who, probably better at football than us, Jermaine Bishop. This guy at Willis has been a superstar for now going on 3 years, now signed with the University of Texas, and they are getting a special talent.
Well, he's Texas high school football's Travis Hunter, but I think the question for Jermaine Bishop is, can he be the SEC's Travis Hunter? Because some people question he's 5'11", 160 pounds. But I talked to Trent Miller for an offseason feature, the head coach at Willis, and he said when he visited Jermaine Bishop in 8th grade, he saw a 5'8", 100-pound soaking wet 8th grader who told him, "Coach, I'm going to be on varsity next year." And Miller said, "Okay, I know this is a guy I've been hearing about, but he doesn't quite look the part just yet." And then that summer, he went in the varsity 7-on-7 line. And Coach Miller said, "Hey, the freshman over there." And Jermaine Bishop said, "Yeah, I know, Coach." And then he locked down Jalen Mickens, who ended up going to Louisiana Tech. And from then on, he started on varsity as a freshman and has become one of the most electric players in Texas high school football.
And that's the thing. He's so productive, right? He's productive on the both sides. You go back to just last week when they played Forney and won in a thriller. This is a guy who had more than 350 total yards. He had 4 total touchdowns. He also had a forced fumble and an interception. He just makes plays. And to me, that speaks more than just the measurables and more than just the stats. He is a guy who, when the moments are big, he makes those big plays.
And he's able to make those plays because he watches more film than almost anyone in Texas high school football. Again, talking to the Willis coach, Trent Miller, he said that he can see on Huddle how many people are watching how many plays, like how many hours you're watching a week. And he has a running joke with the assistant coaches like, "I'm going to have to fire you if Jermaine's watching more film than you are," because half the time he's watching more film than half the coaches. It's because he's been the man since he was 4 years old in Pee Wee football, and he knows that comes with the burden of having to prove himself constantly, and he watches enough film to do that every week.
Jermaine Bishop is certainly a guy between the hashes and also between the ears, and he is a special talent that's heading to the 40 acres. Back to Greg Powers and my friend Mallory Hartley.
You're my friend too, Greg. Thanks so much. Jermaine Bishop, a special talent that is just signed his national letter of intent to go play for the Texas Longhorns. Let's take a look at some of the other top prospects the Longhorns have been able to pull in so far today. At the very top, the aforementioned Willis athlete Jermaine Bishop. Quarterback Dia Bell out of Florida. He's kind of been all the hype since he made his commitment.
Yep.
Temple defensive lineman Jamarian Carlton. We kind of just mentioned he's the newest Texas commit, flipped from Baylor a couple of weeks ago. North Crowley offensive lineman John Turntine III. Cozy Akapala, linebacker out of Katy Maid Creek. Tyler Atkinson, linebacker out of Georgia. And then 4-star wide receiver Cohen Brown, wide receiver out of Waxahachie. A lot of just football playing dudes that are studs on this team, Greg Powers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is a loaded class, and looking up and down this list, one of the names that I want to point out that was a tremendous signing and a flip was Jamarian Carlton. 82-inch wingspan on this defensive lineman from Temple. He was a Navy All-American last year. He's a guy who has an extremely high upside, and he should remind Texas Longhorns fans a little bit of Alfred Collins. And John Turntine III helped lead North Crowley to a state championship last year. He was one of the top targets on the offensive line as they look to reset an offensive line that's going to be losing some names and numbers off of this year's squad. They made him a priority. He felt it, and he issued the commitment to Texas over a whole array of top-rated national teams. And if you're looking for some guys to keep an eye on the defensive side of the ball as well, Cozy Akpala. This dude is an extremely athletic hybrid edge rushing specialist. Big frame, big body. This dude can flat out go, but we could sit here and talk about Texas Longhorns commits all day because all of them are really good.
All of them are extremely good. But give me I know you mentioned it at the very beginning of this Texas segment, that you've got maybe a couple sleepers. Give me one.
Well, Jet Walker's my sleeper in this class. 6'2", 215-pound running back from Georgetown, Texas. Sub-11, 100 meters, big and strong. He's probably one of the most physically imposing guys in the entire Lone Star State. He can run hard in between the tackles, but he has sneaky, shifty footwork to get to the outside and make defenses pay. And I mentioned his speed. So once he gets a little bit of a crease, he can work hard. And I use Derrick Henry as a good comparison for this. People think about Derrick Henry being one of those guys that thrives in the middle of the defense with a lot of bodies around him, but he thrives in space. If the Texas offensive line can give Jet Walker some space, he's a guy who can have a remarkable career in Austin.
Yeah, and we got to see him in person, and I thought he looked phenomenal in that game against Cedar Park that we went to at the end of the season.
Who's your sleeper?
I do have a sleeper.
Okay.
And it's Austin Anderson, safety, Yaheem Riley. Now, he played his first 3 seasons of varsity ball at Austin LBJ, moved to Austin Anderson, and helped take this team to a district title this year. I mean, a phenomenal player, plays both ways, 2 receiving touchdowns on the year, 81 total tackles, 9 tackles for a loss, and 6 interceptions he recorded this year. Now, he was previously committed to Houston, but flipped to Texas earlier on in the season, and he signed his national letter of intent today to go play for the Longhorns this season. That wraps up our Texas segment. Let's stay in the SEC. Let's talk about the Texas A&M Aggies. Powers, another loaded class that we got to talk about.
Yeah, and this isn't a unique Texas A&M class because they are basically a melting pot of top talent from across the nation. They went out to states like Ohio, Florida, New Jersey, Utah, Arizona, Georgia, not only thriving with some top guys in Texas like 5-star KJ Edwards, who we'll get more from in a moment, but they were able to show that they are a national brand that can have recruiting success no matter the state and attract talent to College Station.
Absolutely. And I am so excited to break down this next film over this next player. It's Carthage running back KJ Edwards. Guys, what do you have for us?
Yeah, we're over here in the ball talking zone, Greg Tepper and Carter Yates, talking about Carthage running back KJ Edwards. Look, if you play running back at Carthage, you're probably going to be pretty good. But KJ Edwards feels like is maybe resetting the bar.
Well, Carthage is a Texas high school football dynasty, and running back is the position of record there. Just ask KJ Edwards' father, Jamon Edwards, who was the class of 2004, an excellent running back himself. But KJ has surpassed them all as the career leading rusher in yards and touchdowns. And that's impressive for a couple reasons. One, because he only plays half the game, half the time, because Carthage is just turned into a machine in non-district play. And 2, because they're not running the split back veer option anymore. They're running the spread offense. And 03, by the way, he splits carries with Benny Smith, another running back too. So he's averaging 13 yards a carry. He's an electric factory.
I think when you watch his tape, to me, everything looks so effortless. Like his cuts are easy. He gets up to top speed really quickly. And to me, he's a complete back. He is a guy who can get the tough yards. And then also when he gets out into space, he's the fastest guy on the field. That to me is complete. I mean, here in the state championship game, breaking through tackles and then beating a very fast La Vega team all the way to the end zone.
That run was what won Carthage the state championship game. Okay, it's never just one play, but that's the play that broke it open for Carthage because it was a stalemate in that state championship. I also love how he has dual threat ability, both running and catching the ball too. He's the complete modern back. It is such a great get for Texas A&M.
Yeah, he has been a dog for the Carthage Bulldogs, and now he will be an Aggie as he is signed with the Texas A&M Aggies. And I know Greg Powers and Mallory Hartley that they are fired up in Aggie land about KJ Edwards.
Absolutely. They have good reason to be fired up because the rest of this list that we're about to show you, they're also dogs. Let's take a look at the top prospects in the class of 2026 for the Texas A&M Aggies. Carthage running back KJ Edwards, like we just mentioned. And Greg Powers, a lot of out-of-state guys, too.
For sure.
Like defensive end Tristan Givens out of Georgia. Defensive lineman Bryce Perry Wright out of Georgia as well. Athlete Brandon Arrington out of California, which dude clocked a 10-3. He is speedy. Prosper offensive lineman Zayden Crimpin. 4-star wide receiver Jaden Warren. And 4-star linebacker out of Carthage, it's Quebec. Powers, who stands out?
Well, I mean, Tristan Givens, he's a 5-star on some services, 4-star on some other services. He's an elite edge rusher, 6'3", 215 pounds. He was pursued by all the major schools across the nation, and he has an extremely quick first step. But he doubles down as a wide receiver tight end, and I love those type of guys as they transition into college because that just means that they're going to get better at the position that they're going to play. And I would be remiss not to talk about my guy, Zayden Crimpin from Prosper. He's an anchor at left tackle in what was arguably the nation's best O-line unit. He's dependable, technique sound. He can set the edge or open up holes in the run game. He offers versatility as well because he can play up and down the offensive front.
He's just extremely smart, too. Like, he's got a high football IQ as well. Jaden Warren, also a notable guy on that list. He flipped from Houston to Texas A&M about a week ago. Another guy that could...
How about that? Jaden Warren not making the graphic, a 4-star guy that was like one of the top guys in the state. Was he on there?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, he made it because he deserves it. 10'5", 100-meter guy, big, strong, and Iowa Colony has a chance to advance to the regional finals with a win over, or they are in the regional finals, have a chance to advance.
They're going to play
to the
Richmond
semi.
Randall this week.
Yeah,
a
playing
rematch.
Richmond Randall in a rematch of one of the best games that we broadcast on the DCTX Rising Game of the Week, where Randall was able to knock off Iowa Colony. Warren and his crew is out for revenge.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, Jaden Warren on that list. Give me a guy that wasn't on this list you think Aggies fans should be excited about.
Well, Caden Johnson, the tight end, he was an Auburn legacy, so Texas A&M was able to outlast Auburn for his commitment. He played quarterback at Fort Bend Marshall, 6'5", 215, 225 pounds. He's a big fella that has a high level of athleticism. I think his ceiling is extremely high, and he could be that next big name to come from Texas A&M in that tight end room.
I love it. I got one, too.
Who is it?
How about Fort Bend Ridge Point? Offensive tackle Avery Morcho, 6'6", 295 pounds. Dude passes the eyeball test.
For sure.
I got to interview him when we went down to cover the Fort Bend Ridge Point and Bridgewater game, and my arm was almost at full extension with the mic.
He's a big fella.
He's a big fella. And man, he had one of the best pancake blocks I've ever seen right in front of me. Dude can absolutely play and just get after it. You guys should be excited about Avery Morcho out of Fort Bend Ridge Point. It's early National Signing Day, and we'll have you covered all day on texasfootball.com/recruiting. Now, don't go away. We've got plenty more signing day coverage for you coming up, but let's take a break.
Hello, Candace.
Not you again.
Me again. Remember our last oil change? Your boyfriend said he knew a guy who knew a guy. None of those guys knew what they were doing, including you, Todd.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, where you can watch our experts change your oil right from your car.
Thanks for coming in.
And finish in about 15 minutes. Valvoline. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
My name is Mallory Hartley, and I'm the coordinating producer of recruiting. And sitting alongside me, it's my partner in crime, the director of recruiting at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, Greg Powers. Howdy.
Howdy.
We're just moments away from Braden Bach, Striker Reed, Jalen Lott, Savorian Martin. Donovan Webb is about to make his college commitment announcement. So you can hear the crowd behind us. Everybody is super excited.
This is really something special.
Thank you for any trainers and people who have helped me, especially my mom and dad.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today for my commitment.
Now I thank my parents, my grandparents, everybody's here right now supporting me.
I'm going to be committing to
University of Oregon.
Go play football and run track today.
TCU.
I got to get my let's go in, you know?
Let's go! Welcome back to our Class of 2026 Early National Signing Day special here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. We're so excited that you have joined us today. Let's keep it rolling with our P4 teams. Let's move to the Big 12 and talk about the TCU Horned Frogs. This is a class that when you take a look at it as a whole, they've got talent at every position.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is a class, and the thing that jumps out to me is the ratings on all the national services, the ratings on DCTX. They don't mirror each other at all. So that means there are a lot of opinions on a lot of the top guys in this class, and what that generally means is some of these guys that are a little bit under the radar as far as rankings are concerned are probably going to be really good college players. But here's a key note. They signed 1/10 of the DCTX Rising Hot 100, so 10 players in the class from the DCTX Rising 100. That's an accomplishment.
And one of the best ones in that class, it's Lake Travis defensive end Carter Buck, and the guys over in the ball talking zone have his film.
It's Carter talking about Carter because Nuck if you buck. It is Carter Buck, the edge rusher from Lake Travis. Lake Travis is known as a quarterback factory and a wide receiver factory. But quietly, they put out a bunch of defensive dudes. And Carter Buck, he's up there.
And don't take our word for it. Lake Travis head coach Hank Carter said that Carter Buck could be the best all-time defensive player at Lake Travis when it's all said and done. He's already got the single-season sacks record with 14.5. He's going to break the career sacks record, and he's already broken the career tackles for loss record. I thought it was so funny when Matt Stepp came to the office to record.
He's got that first step, and he's immediately beaten you off the block. That's one thing that's impressive. He also plays with great leverage. I love that he will get that lean on you and make sure that he gets to the quarterback. He's a complete package there, I think, at edge rusher. And I think TCU fans who have been known, they've had great edge rushers in the past, I think they should be really excited about this product from the Austin area.
Coach Hank Carter said that Carter Buck would tackle a freaking dump truck if you asked him to. So Horned Frogs fans, that's what you have to look forward to.
Look, that's one Carter talking about another Carter, and if I know anything, it's that Carter's no Carters.
Exactly. And actually 3 Carters, because Hank Carter, too.
Hank Carter, it's a Carter party. And of course, they should be partying there in Fort Worth with the signing of Carter Buck, the defensive end from Lake Travis, guys.
Head coach Hank Carter actually said this is probably one of the best defensive players that he's
Game
coached.
wrecker. He's a game wrecker.
He's an absolute game wrecker. But a lot of these guys on this list are game wreckers. Let's take a look at the top prospects in the class of 2026 for the TCU Horned Frogs. Of course, Carter Buck being at the very top of the list. Temple, defensive back Jason Bradford. Got to see him a couple weeks ago. Jesse Ford, defensive end out of Arlington Martin. Giavori Graham, he's a 3-star athlete out of San Antonio Harland. Quarterback Jack Dalton out of the Woodlands. I like this one. Asen Theus, 3-star wide receiver. Ace?
They call him Ace.
Yeah, they call him Ace Theus. And then 3-star Vincent Johnson, offensive lineman out of Sulphur Springs. This list it's just loaded, Powers. And I know you just mentioned his name, Ace Theus, but he is a blast to watch in person.
Yeah, and Duncanville uses him in a lot of interesting situations. They even put him back at Wildcat quarterback. Of course, they graduated one of their top playmakers off of last year's squad into Corian Moore, who's starring now at Oregon. Well, Asen Theus has been one of those guys that they've turned to on the offensive side of the ball to move the needle and keep them in the state championship hunt. I love Jason Bradford. Jason Bradford's height and length give him a physical advantage that sets him apart from other defensive backs. He has experience at safety and corner, so he can cover and he can hit. And on the island, he shows the rare ability to sink his hips and hang tight with receivers. But I think his best days are in front of him playing safety in Fort Worth. And a sneaky name on this list that you should keep an eye on is Jesse Ford. Jesse Ford missed his senior season with an injury, but before that, he was one of the state's most highly recruited players. He has edge-setting power and a long frame that college coaches absolutely covet.
I think a guy in the class of 2026 that has signed with TCU that is not on this list, one of my favorites, Arlington Lamar wide receiver Camille Pruitt. We talked about him a couple weeks ago on This Week in Recruiting. I think he's kind of flying under the radar a little bit because he was kind of a late bloomer. I mean, he broke out in his senior season. There was one game specifically. It's when Arlington Lamar played Mesquite Horn in September. 5 catches for 224 yards and 3 touchdowns. Only had 6 offers coming into the season. TCU offers started rolling in. He clocked a 4.440. Dude is fast. He's so much fun to watch. I think that's why he's kind of a sleeper, is that he was just a late bloomer.
Yeah, he's over 6 foot. He picked up over 1,000 yards this season, so he's a tremendous talent. I really like, because he's long and rangy, what he does in the underneath game. So he really embodies the term sleeper. I feel like that is a tremendous pick. I'm going to give you a couple of sleepers. I'm going with Giavri Graham, the running back from San Antonio Harlan. This guy is absolutely amazing. They'll split him out at wide receiver. He has sub 4.4 40-yard speed. I think that a lot of the national recruiting outlets are missing the boat on him because of his upside. And pair him with Port Arthur Memorial running back Amonte Martin. And I think the TCU running back room is set for the future. These guys deserve to get more shine.
I think so too. TCU, you guys are in good hands. Let's stay in the Big 12, and let's talk about the Baylor Bears. You kind of already gave your general thoughts on the class. You know, we talked about it a little bit before the start of the show, and we were kind of discussing, should the Baylor Bears sound the alarms yet? I don't think so. They've got a lot of good players. One specifically, one of my favorite players, Waco University, wide receiver London Smith. Let's take a look at his film.
Back here in the ball talking zone, Greg Tepper and Carter Yates, and London calling, because it is London Smith, the Waco University wide receiver, and the word is just playmaker. He is the guy who, it's not just 2nd and 6, he's going to get that 10-yard route. It is with the game on the line, you are looking for London Smith to come up with the plays, and he does.
Well, he's a 1,000-yard receiver on the football field, and we love dual sport athletes here at Dave Campbell's. He's also a 20 points per game guy on the basketball court. And where does he get that crazy athleticism? Well, his father, Rodney, is 8th all-time in tackles at Baylor, and his mother, Stacy, was the 1999 triple jump national champion. So easy to see the apple didn't fall too far from the tree with London Smith.
And he was was a guy who helped to elevate this Waco University program, which has a great history. I mean, they've put guys like LaDainian Tomlinson into the league, but he is a guy who had fallen on some hard times. He has been part of a class that has helped to bring Waco University back to statewide prominence.
I draw a lot of parallels between what he's done at Waco U and what he's about to do at Baylor, because we've talked about it at the top of the show. There's been some defections from this signing class, but London Smith, his father coached basketball at Waco U. He dreamed of changing the culture at Waco U, a team that lost 48 consecutive games from 2013 to 2018. Things have not gotten nearly that rough at Baylor. They still have a lot of positive momentum with this recruiting class and with London Smith, but I love him staying home. He's from South Waco. He's going to do it at a program his parents played at in his hometown.
Yeah, I know that today might be a disappointing day overall for Baylor fans with a number of key decommitments, but I will tell you that having London Smith on your roster, things are pointing up there for the Baylor Bears in the receiver room.
Things are pointing up everywhere, I want to say, because let's take a look at some other top prospects the Baylor Bears have been able to sign today. Another one of our favorites. It's four-star athlete out of Honey Grove, Texas. It's Rylan Morris. Powers, you remember what I called him?
Yeah.
The mitochondria of this offense.
That was one of your all-timers for this season.
Yeah, it was. I had to bring it back. Guys, he's like the mitochondria. If you know what a mitochondria is, the powerhouse of the cell. He's the powerhouse of this offense, and I think he'll do the same at Baylor. Three-star defensive lineman out of Oklahoma. It's Jalen Battle. Really like him as well. Three-star quarterback out of Argyle Liberty Christian, Quinn Murphy. Three-star athlete Davion Peters out of Lake Belton. Donnell Robinson out of Mississippi. He's a three-star offensive lineman. And Parker Almanza, currently playing tight end for Byron Nelson, quarterback, but will be a tight end there for Baylor. Powers, what do you notice right off the bat here?
Well, I notice I'm upgrading Jalen Battle to a 4-star. I know he's from
really
Oklahoma,
good.
but he's a Greg Powers 4-star from henceforth, because this is a big athletic dude, 6'2", 280 pounds, and he was highly coveted. Schools worked to flip him like Missouri right up until his pen hit paper on his BU letter of intent today. He's super explosive and can control the line of scrimmage. I at least want to say the London Smith name because our guys in the BTZ got to talk all about him. I love London Smith, such a huge addition. Quinn Murphy, third all-time Texas high school football touchdowns. That's pretty good accomplishment there for the quarterback out of Argyle Liberty Christian. And I'll double down on Rylan Morris. He's been a true small school star, dominating on both sides of the ball. But as he transitions into college, he's going to be that type of all-purpose back who can split out wide or line up in the backfield to be on the field for all three downs. He's an extremely versatile athletic weapon on offense.
I think so, too. I think Parker Almanzo could also be kind of that versatile weapon on offense as well. Like I said, he's playing quarterback for Byron Nelson. He
can throw the rock a little.
Can throw the rock. He's really fun to watch in person, but will play tight end for the Baylor Bears next season. Do you have a sleeper for me? Because I got a sleeper for you.
You know, I'm going to go on this list. I'm going to go with Jordan Davis. He's a safety, over 6 foot, 180 pounds. He played at Dallas HSAA, which is, homeschool player, so not a lot of people know about him. He's been extremely impressive on the camp circuit. He embodies what you think of a traditional safety because he has the prototype frame. He can cover, he can hit, he can do a little bit of everything. If you don't know about his name in Waco, you're going to find out about him very soon. Who's your sleeper?
Let's go to South Oak Cliff.
Okay, let's do it.
Jamarion. How about linebacker Jamarion Phillips? 6'1", 220. I think he is kind of flying under the radar a little bit because he's been hurt.
Yep.
His senior season. But recently, he's come back for the playoffs. And just through a couple of games in the playoffs, he's recorded about 25 tackles so far. So a high production type linebacker there for Jamarion Phillips. Love this guy.
He had all the offers, too, when he committed to Baylor, Ohio State, et cetera. Like, everybody was coming after him. He's a thumper.
He's an absolute dog. That's the Baylor Bears recruiting class. Let's stay in the Big 12, and let's talk about the Houston Cougars, which, man, I got to say it, this might be the best recruiting class of all time for the Houston Cougars, Greg Powers.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is a class that's loaded from top to bottom with stars. You got to start at the top of the list with he is the all-time highest-rated Houston Cougars commit of all time.
And you're probably wondering who we're talking about. It's Houston Legacy quarterback Keyshawn Henderson. And you know who has more information on him? It's the Ball Talking Zone.
That's right. Back in the BTZ, Greg Powers and Carter Yates. And it's easy to talk about Keyshawn Henderson because just turn on the tape. This guy's an unbelievable athlete, and he is basically the number one player in a lot of services, including Dave Campbell's Texas football. This guy is an unbelievable playmaker and a tremendous get here for the Houston Cougars.
I think his story is so interesting, though, because for a number one overall player, 5-star, he has a big chip on his shoulder because so many people have told him throughout high school he needs to switch to wide receiver or safety because he's such a freak athlete. But I love how his head coach, Michael Bishop, also heard that same critique of himself as he was going up through high school and into college. He ended up taking Blinn Junior College to the national championship and then was an All-American at Kansas State. Now, Keyshawn's head coach at Houston Legacy, the School of Sports Sciences, just such a good mentor for him, and we got to saw that firsthand when they played Prosper Richland.
Yeah, I think that's an important point because I think people might look at Spring Legacy School of Sports Sciences and say, okay, well, who have they played? Go look at the schedule. They have loaded up a difficult schedule. He has certainly been tested, and he's performed again on big-time stages. I think this is a guy who's ready for prime time and a guy that as soon as he figures out the speed of the college game, the tools are there that are going to make him a problem from day one.
He's so toolsy, and I look at Houston's offense and how they're running quarterback Connor Wegman, and I think Keyshawn Henderson could do a lot of the same stuff. People are asking, hey, why would Keyshawn Henderson go to Houston? I know they've had a pretty resurgent season on the football field, but getting a 5-star number one overall player, well, Houston's head coach, Willie Fritz, coached Michael Bishop at Blinn Junior College, so relationships still matter in recruiting.
These are how those connections are made, and Keyshawn Henderson, as soon as he puts pen to paper, is heading to the Houston Cougars in a big-time coup for those Cougars.
One of the things I have noticed since Keyshawn Henderson has been committed to Houston, signed his letter today, is the hype that he's been able to get people to buy into this Houston program. I mean, the guys that have signed today, which we'll talk about here in just a second, but it's the way that Keyshawn Henderson has kind of backed these guys, right, and gotten them bought into this program.
Yeah, they came up with a great trademark for him, key to the city. I love that. And he loves to live up to that too. He turns the key, whenever he's talking about it. Mm-hmm. He's set to sign his letter of intent at 2 p.m. today, and all indications are everything's good with his commitment to Houston. Everybody expects him to turn in his LOI at 2 p.m.
Let's take a look at some more top prospects the Houston Cougars have been able to sign today. Keyshawn Henderson, of course, at the top of that list. 4-star athlete, one of my favorites, Paris Melvin Jr. out of Cy Springs. Johnny Hebert, 3-star running back out of Houston Strake Jesuit. 3-star offensive lineman Aaron Wolford out of Port Neches Groves. I like this one, Powers. We got to see him this past
he's
week.
real athletic.
Javion Martin, a 3-star tight end out of Willis, Texas. He hurdled. This dude is, okay, he's 6'3.5", 250 pounds. Hurdled a defender right in front of me last week. He's sneaky athletic. 3-star defensive end Caleb Walker out of Lindale. I also got to see him this year. And Connie Watts, defensive back out of Iowa Colony. Great class.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Don't overlook John Hebert out of Strake Jesuit. He's been dominating 6A competition in Texas high school football, putting up remarkable stats, rushed for over 3,500 or right at 3,500 yards back-to-back seasons. That's quite an accomplishment. And Paris Melvin Jr., he's one of these guys, and I have one of them in every class, where I feel like the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator are going to have some sort of battle to figure out which side of the ball he's going to play on, because they're both going to try to convince Willie Fritz that he should be playing where they coach.
Absolutely. A lot of really fun guys to watch on this list. Do you have a sleeper?
You know what? Caleb Walker is my true sleeper. I think that he reminds me a lot of Tyus Bowser, who came out of Tyler High. And a guy that's not pictured on that graphic that I really love is big offensive lineman Rhett Gray from Weatherford, 6'7", 290 pounds, flipped from TCU to UH. So this was a true shot across the bow in Big 12 recruiting.
A strong class the Houston Cougars have been able to put together so far this year. Let's round out the big dogs and talk about the SMU Mustangs. This is another class, like Houston, that they're making history. This is a really strong 2026 class, Greg Powers.
Number 26 in the country, to put it in perspective. That is a tremendous accomplishment for Rhett Lashley and co. on the Hilltop. They have guys up and down this list that are super impressive.
Absolutely. And one of those guys that's super impressive, it's Lake Highlands running back Christian Rhodes. And I think the Ball Talking Zone has more information on him.
Boy, I'm so glad you asked, Mallory, because we have a lot to say about Christian Rhodes, the Lake Highlands running back. He's a guy who was an early commit to SMU. As his senior season went on and he was putting together a remarkable senior season, I know his phone started blowing up, but he has stayed true to the Ponies, and it's a big get for them.
The first time I saw Christian Rhodes was this past summer at a 7-on-7 tournament, and he wasn't on my radar, not because he wasn't a talented player, but because running backs don't often show out in 7-on-7. And then I said, who is that guy? He's 6'1", 205 with 4.45 speed. He was catching the ball out of the backfield, and that translated to the field in the fall where he had 1,200 rushing yards and 400 receiving yards. One of the leading receivers on Lake Highlands' team, just such a versatile player.
And the thing about him when he's running the ball is he puts his foot in the ground and gets north-south in a hurry. He's not a guy who dances. He's a guy who, I'm going to make a move to shake you, and then it is north-south. And that, I think, is one of the things that when you look at the way that SMU likes to run the ball, they want to have a more north-south running attack. And so I think that in a lot of ways, he's a good fit, as well as you mentioned, that versatility out of the backfield. I think he's the kind of guy who can be close to a 3-down back for the SMU Mustangs.
And that's something that SMU was missing this season. A big part of their college football playoff run was having Brashard Smith, a 1,300-yard rusher. This year, they had to go more by committee. Their leading rusher was 700 yards, and they fall short of the ACC championship game. Christian Rhodes could be a difference maker down the line here, from missing out on the ACC championship to getting to the ACC championship.
Christian Rhodes is a name to know there on the hilltop, and he's going to be doing big things for Rhett Lashley and company.
Other guys that will be doing big things for Rhett Lashley and company. Let's take a look at the top prospects in the class of 2026 for the SMU Mustangs. Obviously at the top, we got Lake Highlands running back Christian Rhodes. Offensive line, Drew Evers out of Flower Mountain. This one I think was kind of a shock, Powers, because I think a lot of people expected him to maybe commit to Texas A&M where he had family ties. Wide receiver Aljor Miles out of Kaufman, one of my favorite receivers in this class. 4-star athlete Xavier Barnett, who's probably been the most loyal, I want to say.
Yeah, he's been committed a long time.
Yeah, he's out of Yoakum, Texas. 4-star offensive lineman Evan Goodwin out of Arizona. 3-star defensive back out of North Forney. It's our guy, Ryan Gilbert. We got to do his commitment. Ryan Deuce Gilbert. I love it. And a 3-star defensive end, Hudson Woods out of Smithson Valley. He helped, of course, lead Smithson Valley to a state championship last year, so he's got some pedigree there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Looking at this class, the thing that I want to concentrate on is they did such a tremendous job in the trenches. Multiple offensive line commits, multiple defensive line commits. Drew Evers, extremely versatile, has experience playing up and down the offensive front at Flower Mound. I truly think that he could play center, guard, or tackle in college. So he's the type of guy where you have a need, you can put him in. Extremely intelligent, high football IQ, strong at the point of attack. He really has no weakness about his game, and that's what makes him a DCTX 4-star. Wide receiver Aljor Miles has an extremely high ceiling.
He's huge.
Yeah,
too.
He's a big body, has an interesting story as well, coming from California and getting his feet wet in Texas and becoming a true star at Kaufman. And Ryan Gilbert, he plays with such swagger. I really like that what he brings to the table because he's one of those guys that has the confidence to take on and take out a number one option at wide receiver.
Speaking of the trenches, I know there's a sleeper that's going to be playing in the trenches that you want to talk about.
Well, my sleeper in this class is Toa Katoa. He was listed on Euless Trinity's roster when I went to the South Lake Carroll game at 6'5", 293 pounds.
Oh my gosh, that's
and
insane.
I'm telling you, he passes the eyeball. Yeah, he looks. I'm going to use this. I guess it's an analogy. When you see a semi-truck barreling down on you in the rear view, that's what I think of Toa Katoa, except for he's coming right at you if you're playing linebacker.
Yeah, no thanks.
I love that about his game. I know that he strikes fear into the heart of defenders that have to line up across from him, and he's got a very bright future. He was a 4-year varsity starter at Euless Trinity, so he has plenty of experience at the 6A level. He's a dude.
Yeah, another guy that has plenty of experience at the 6A level, my sleeper, Duncanville tight end Zachary Turner. I think he thrives in the passing game. 6'2", 220, the number one tight end overall in the state of Texas. And I don't want to say that he's a sleeper because he is the number one overall tight end, but I think it's just because Duncanville is such a loaded class that he might be overlooked at some points.
He's a physically imposing guy.
Yeah.
Like, he really passes the eyeball test. You notice him on a Duncanville team that's got stud of studs, Zachary Turner definitely stands out.
Absolutely. Well, I think that'll do it for our Power 4 segment, but don't go away because we still got some G5 ball to talk about. We'll see you after the break.
Hello, Candace.
Not you again.
Me again. Remember our last oil change? Your boyfriend said he knew a guy who knew a guy. None of those guys knew what they were doing, including you, Todd.
Silence your oil change anxiety at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, where you can watch our experts change your oil right from your car.
Thanks for coming in.
And finish in about 15 minutes. Valvoline. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
My name is Mallory Hartley, and I'm the coordinating producer of recruiting. And sitting alongside me, it's my partner in crime, the director of recruiting at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, Greg Powers. Howdy.
Howdy.
We're just moments away from Braden Bach, Striker Reed, Jalen Lott, Savorian Martin. Donovan Webb is about to make his college commitment announcement. So you can hear the crowd behind us. Everybody is super excited.
This is really something special.
Thank you for any trainers and people who have helped me, especially my mom and dad.
I want to thank everybody for coming out today for my commitment.
Now I thank my parents, my grandparents, everybody's here right now supporting me.
I'm going to be committing to
University of Oregon.
Go play football and run track again.
TCU.
I got to get my let's go in, you know?
Let's go! Welcome back to our early National Signing Day special of the class of 2026. Powers, before we dive right into G5, we had some breaking news over the break. North Forney, quarterback Legend Bay, flips back to Tennessee from being committed to Ohio State for a couple weeks.
And Brian Hartline just so happened to announce that he's heading off to South Florida. You know, of course, he was running point in the Legend Bay recruitment. Legend Bay was recruited to Ohio State to possibly be running back, possibly be a wide receiver. But Tennessee has always kept the heat up, full blast, trying to convince him and his family that Tennessee is the best spot for him.
Absolutely. A lot of more good players to get to real quick. So let's start off with maybe kind of some untraditional ways of doing this. North Texas, I don't believe that they had a signee today, which I know you're double checking that right now, but no need to sound the alarms just yet. Obviously, you guys know, our college insider Mike Craven put out an article yesterday that Neil Brown was hired to be the new head coach of the North Texas Mean Green. So there's some changes being made here for the North Texas Mean Green.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They did lose a commitment from Jabari Thornton, who flipped from North Texas to Oklahoma State. We kind of actually expected that because he was a one-time Oklahoma State commit who committed to North Texas, and then his head coach that he committed to at North Texas goes to Stillwater. So that's a move that can certainly be expected. They have not announced any signings. They do have 6 players on their current commitment list, and Kason Applewhite from Palestine is one of the guys that really jumps out to me that's currently committed on this class, but there is plenty of time. I think what UNT should be thankful for right now in this moment is the timing of their coaching search just happened to be in front of this, but there is another National Signing Day coming up in February where they can certainly add plenty of high school prospects. But it'll be interesting to see what the roster attrition is because that's going to formulate the game plan, I feel like, for Neil Brown and what he's going to do in Denton. Are they going to attack more of the transfer portal, or are they going to circle back on some of the guys here in Texas that are still available?
So you're saying no need to sound the alarms in Denton, America right now. I think we're just fine.
Well, I mean, they've suffered over the last couple seasons some of the most serious roster attrition across the country out of any program. So I think it's time for them to assess what they're going to be having coming back next year and how do they add to that to fit into what are going to be new schemes. Obviously, they're going to be looking for new players to fit into those schemes, and those could come from anywhere in the country.
I think so, too. North Texas will be in good hands with Coach Neil Brown. Let's move on to UTSA. We'll talk about the Road Runners. And specifically, let's talk about Schertz Clemens wide receiver Christian Dupree, 6'3", 175-pounder, a multi-sport athlete participating in basketball and track as well. And Powers, just by watching his tape, you can see that track speed And you can see that those basketball hops as he can go up for those contested catches.
One of the things I love about this commitment is keeping one of the top San Antonio area players right at home with the Roadrunners. Jeff Traylor always does a tremendous job of identifying that talent early on out of the gate. Christian Dupree has been committed there for a little bit of time. Extremely athletic, plays on both sides of the ball for Clemens, and he's a guy who they've had some pretty talented wide receivers over the most recent years in San Antonio, and I think he's a guy that can be next in line there. He's got an extremely high developmental ceiling because of his three-sport, multi-phase athleticism, and I think that Jeff Traylor and his staff there will do a great job in that development. But up and down this list, there are guys that I really like. I think Braden Lott, linebacker at Lake Travis, this is a tremendous talent, high football IQ, a guy who really gets it. I love McGuire Gasperson in Argyle. We got a chance to watch him play earlier this year. But one of the sleepers in all the G5 schools.
I think I know who you're going to say.
Yes.
Is he a tight end?
He is.
Is he out of Humble Kingwood?
He is.
Is his name Tristan Laughlin?
It is Tristan Laughlin. I came up with a nickname for him. I'm calling him Big Smooth.
Big Smooth, baby.
Yeah, Big Smooth. 6'5", 225 pounds. It seems like all this guy does is catch touchdowns. Those UTSA tight ends are really good this year.
He fits into that scheme so well.
Perfect. He could be the next Houston Thomas out there.
I believe so. Let's keep it rolling here in the American Conference and talk about the Rice Owls, specifically Sheldon C.E. King, running back, Deion Sims. This is kind of a sneaky good class for Rice.
I agree.
We'll hit on a couple more players here in a second. But Deion Sims kind of having that breakout senior season, 1,400 yards and 21 touchdowns on the ground. He was committed to SFA for a while and then recently flipped to Rice just a couple of weeks ago. But man, he makes defenses look silly out there.
Yeah, we had a chance to watch him play in person. 5'8", 160 pounds, and you think gadget back, but he really is an every down back. He's a guy that can run hard in between the tackles. He can catch the football out of the backfield. He brings a little bit of everything to the table, and that C.E. King offense is absolutely loaded in the backfield. You've got not only Deion Sims, you got 2027 running back Antoine Sanders, Orion Montgomery, you got 2028 athlete Dylan Mitchell, who's going to probably take some reps away from some of those guys when he lines up to get some carries. But Deion Sims, let's keep the focus on him. He's one of the highest rated signees in this class. And there's a big reason why, because he has the go juice, as I like to say. They also flipped Marcus Page Jr., North Forney offensive tackle from Baylor. How many times have we covered that? Probably never. Where Rice has flipped a P4 commit down the recruiting home stretch. Up and down this list, they've got pretty talented players. They've had to go out of state for some guys that I think are really impressive. But I think it's important to note 18 high school football signees right now on board for the Rice Owls. And it's a hard program to recruit to because of the academic standards there, but they have done a tremendous job of not only finding these guys, but making sure that they fit the culture of that program.
Well, and I was going to say, this is kind of the first year that we've been able to see this new Rice staff, Coach Scott Abel there at the helm, and he just had coached his first season at Rice, put together their own coaching staff, put together their own recruiting class. And you're starting to see it kind of pay off a little bit with, like you said, one of the stronger recruiting classes I think that Rice has had in a while.
Agreed, 100%. I love what Rice has done in this class, and there are some names out there that should be mentioned. And Tyler Lavalier, Brookshire Royal, defensive lineman, really talented. Preston Jackson, the Forney wide receiver, had a tremendous career. But I love Sinton offensive lineman Clay Mitchell. If you want to talk about a pancake machine, go watch Sinton and Cuero this weekend. It's going to be one of the best. It's going to be one of the best games in the state. But if you like guys who are mean in the trenches, go watch you some Clay Mitchell.
Absolutely. Let's move on and talk about the Texas State Bobcats. I don't like to pick favorites, but this dude is probably one of my favorite dudes of all dudes in the class of 2026. It's Kilgore athlete Laquilion Graves. The versatility off the wall. He can play safety, nickel, outside linebacker, wide receiver. He can do it all. And we got to watch him up close and personal at the state 7-on-7 tournament last year. And I actually got to ask him the question of, well, which position do you like to play the most? And he goes, wide receiver, hands down.
He loves to have the ball in his hands.
He loves to get the ball in his
and
hands.
At 6'2", 185 pounds, Keelan Graves is a big reason why I picked Kilgore to win the state championship this year. And they've got some tough tests in front of them, but Graves stars on both sides of the ball there at Kilgore. And I'll tell you, he plays with the chip on his shoulder, and you can see the speed is apparent on tape. One of the most under-the-radar players, I feel like. 24/7 Sports rates him as a 4-star, so they feel like he has true NFL upside. LaKeelion Graves is one of those dudes that Texas State is hanging their hat on. You know what? Texas State is the only program, G5 program in Texas with any commitments in the DCTX Rising Hot 100. One of them happens to be LaKeelion Graves, and the other one is Xavier Warren, a 6 foot, 165-pound wide receiver out of Georgetown with absolutely blistering speed. They also happen to be the highest rated G5 school in the state, checking in at number 71 overall in the composite team rankings as National Signing Day is starting to get wrapped up here on a wonderful Wednesday. But a guy that I really like, Colin Thompson from Grand Oaks. Big defensive end, 6'3", 210 pounds, has that edge rushing ability, because we think about G.J. Kinney, we think about offense. There's nothing that we can do about it, you know, and two of their top recruits just happen to be offensive recruits. But they did a tremendous job down there identifying great Texas high school football talent like a guy like Colin Thompson, making him a priority and getting those types of guys on the commitment list. They've got some dudes in this class.
Yeah, they sure do. I mean, and I'm excited too. You know, obviously they just announced the move that they're going to be joining the Pac-12 this next coming season. A big move to the Pac-12. It was once a Power 5 conference. So kind of excited to see that this recruiting class that they've been able to put together this year kind of translate on the field as they move into a bigger conference, I would say.
Well, they're doing a great job not only identifying talent in Texas, but they are finding some guys from other states as well. Quarterback Easton Webb is coming in from Sand Springs in Oklahoma. That's a name that Texas State fans will certainly want to take note of in this class because he's a pretty accomplished thrower. He's also 6'4". So he's gonna be one of those off the bus guys. And I love Darius Davis from San Marcos. He's a linebacker who really caught my eye. San Marcos had a tremendous linebacker core with Darius Davis and Isaiah Young, who signed with SMU.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to Conference USA and talk about the UTEP Miners and specifically El Paso Chapin wide receiver Davion Singleton. Honestly, just a banner year overall for the Sun City. I mean, you got Jake Fetty, committed to Arizona State, Ryan Estrada, Minnesota, Justin Morales out of Arizona, and throw Davion Singleton right into the mix there. He's a guy who brings a lot of versatility to an offense and has experience taking snaps at quarterback, wide receiver, running back. I mean, his career numbers are off the charts, Powers.
You tasked me with something this week as to try to pick my favorite UTEP commit. And I kept it local. Keeping it in El Paso with Singleton. And he has been one of these guys that has always been a consummate Texas high school football star. We've known about him for a long time. He has an electric battery. He's always charged up is how I would like to explain it. And he's a guy that can make people miss in the phone booth. So I picked him, but this was a hot debate because sitting right behind Texas State is UTEP. They're the number 2 rated G5 team in the rankings this year, checking in at number 81, which I think is quite a tip of the cap to Scotty Walden and his staff for how hard they work on the recruiting trail, uncovering and finding these Texas high school football dudes like Davion Singleton. But I like Dyson Davis, 6'2", 225-pound edge rusher from Abilene Cooper. Kanan James, a tremendous defensive lineman out of Arlington Heights. Arlington Heights had one of the best defenses this year. Kane White Tinsley from West Plains.
Yes.
This is a dude that has a lot of ability. So if you Darius Hutchinson, there are a lot of guys.
Ryan Mallory.
Yeah, Ryan, he was the defensive MVP in the state championship game last year. So as I'm looking at this list, it was a tough task you assigned me. I went with Singleton, but I could have picked any of these other guys.
Yeah, and it's just fun to play in the Sun City. I mean, being in El Paso, that's a different kind of atmosphere, you know, and we had the pleasure of talking to Scotty Walden last year on our National Signing Day show. And, you know, it is hard to recruit out there. There's no secret that it's hard to get kids, especially from the state of Texas, that aren't in El Paso out there. But I think they've done a really good job at it. Like you said, they just recruit football-playing dudes.
I got a sleeper for this one. J.D. Wallace out of Houston Yates, 6'4", 205 pounds. And I'm going to shout out my guy Jackson Stoner from Rockwall.
Jackson Stoner from
Closest
Rockwall.
thing to a fullback I've seen in Texas high school football.
Yes,
sometime.
bring
He's
back
going to
the
be an
fullbacks.
H-back tight end, but he's one of those guys that absolutely likes to demolish linebackers out in the open field. I love watching Jackson Stoner play.
Love this class that UTEP has been able to put together so far in 2026. Let's round it out with Sam Houston and talk about Houston Lamar safety, Robert McFarland. Hard-hitting safety. My goodness, Powers. He plays with an edge. Have you seen his tape? I mean, it is unreal.
I love Robert McFarland. He is one of my true sleepers in all of Texas high school football. As we were going back through and watching senior evaluations to try to get the rankings right as we march towards National Signing Day and get those lists correct for the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Rising magazine, he was one of those guys that stood out to me like a sore thumb. He's only 5'10", but he plays much bigger. And this is one of my favorite clips that you're watching right here. I think this is his scoop and score. Watch how seamlessly he just picks that ball up and goes to the house, right? Robert McFarland is one of these guys that I feel like not enough people paid attention to. He's an absolute headhunter back there who is the team leader for a much improved Houston Lamar team this year that had a remarkable season, and a big reason why is McFarland.
Wanted to correct myself real quick. Ryan Mallory actually committed to Sam Houston.
But he still won the defensive MVP at the state championship game.
That takes nothing away from how awesome Ryan Mallory is. I just said the wrong name.
Well,
which is crazy because his last name is Mallory. I should know that.
We'll plug UTEP's name with Japri Wafer from Allen, another good guy, and we'll talk about Ryan Mallory right here, a guy that can move sideline to sideline for Richmond Randall. He's got a nose for the football, another talented linebacker core there at Richmond Randall, because they also have TCU signee Noriel Pac-Man Dominguez, which made their group so much better. And this list is another one. I think they did a sneaky good job, especially on the defensive front, because I love Cookie Warmate from Denton Ryan. 6 foot, 250 pounds. He has been remarkably talented in that Denton Ryan, kind of the heart and soul of that defense along there with another Sam Houston commit, Errol West.
Love him.
Both of those guys are 6 foot, and they're viewed as a little bit undersized, but they can flat out go. And I feel like when you're talking about the best defensive fronts in the Lone Star State, you have to start with Denton Ryan, because they have those guys that play with a chip on their shoulder. They're team leaders. They can get after the quarterback or they can stop the run. A little undersized, but they have the go juice.
They have the go juice. Sam Houston fans should be excited for the class of 2026 they've been able to bring in. Take a deep breath. We're halfway through signing day. We're about to finish our show. Is there anything else you want to talk about that we haven't hit on yet? Any unsigned players to watch?
Well, I'm waiting for that Keyshawn Henderson letter of intent to roll in, 2 p.m. Jaden Warren and John Hebert, also in the Houston class, have not signed yet. They're scheduled to sign later on today. That's a couple of the big names that we're watching. You mentioned Legend Bay flipping from Ohio State to Tennessee after he'd already flipped from Tennessee to Ohio State. That was big news. And then, of course, some of the top unsigned players in this class, Robert Haynes.
He's going to wait till February. Yeah.
He's going to wait till February. So there's some names out there still in this class to keep an eye on. Keep it locked on, of course, TexasFootball.com/recruiting as we get our hands around this in the late afternoon to make sure that we give you all the scoop on some of the guys who may or may not have signed.
Absolutely. Keep it locked on TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Before we go, do you want to plug what subscribers can get? If you subscribe, TexasFootball.com.
Become a subscriber to Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and you can get your Felix Ojo DCTX Rising cover. You also get the Bible that comes out in the spring and access to all of our digital content, including over 1,900 football games on Texan Live. And you can catch us.
1,900 events. I mean, all sports.
You can catch us on the call this weekend for one of the state's top games on Texan Live. DeSoto takes on Willis at McLean Stadium in Waco. I can't wait to catch that one.
Jermaine Bishop,
2 5
Booby
stars.
Feaster on the same field. Oh, man, that's
tap
going to be
in.
box
I'm telling y'all,
stuff.
tap in.
Yeah, you got to tap in for that. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. Like Power said, make sure to become a DCTF subscriber at TexasFootball.com/subscribe. And signing day is not over. We still have things that we are watching, so always keep it locked on TexasFootball.com/recruiting. For our special guest, Texas Tech head coach Joey McGuire, Kimmy Gooding, Vianney Moreno, Ashley Pickle, Sam Moore, Carter Yates, Greg Tepper, Greg Powers, I'm Mallory Hartley. We'll see you in February for next signing day.